The greatest goalkeeper on the planet right now. The guy who made Liverpool look like a high school team in the 2022 Champions League final. The 6'7" giant who saved Real Madrid's season with his bare hands. Almost never played football at all. I'm talking about Thibaut Courtois. And here's the crazy part. Until he was 12 years old, he wasn't even sure if he wanted to be a footballer. Because while other kids were dreaming of scoring goals like Ronaldo or Messi, Courtois was too busy spiking volleyballs and diving across hardwood courts. But what if I told you that those years playing volleyball weren't a distraction? What if they were actually the secret weapon that turned him into the most dominant goalkeeper in football history? In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you how a kid from a small Belgian town, born into a volleyball dynasty, accidentally became a goalkeeper, survived a career-threatening injury, navigated one of the messiest love triangles in football, and ultimately redefined what it means to be elite between the posts. This is the story of how Thibaut Courtois became the best goalkeeper in history. Let's rewind to May 11th, 1992, BRUYNE, Belgium, a small town in the Flemish region of Limburg. And on that day, Thibaut Nicolas Marc Courtois was born into what you could only call a volleyball dynasty. Now, most football players grow up with dads who played football, right? Maybe they kick a ball around in the backyard, learn how to dribble, dream of scoring the winning goal in a World Cup final. But Courtois, his childhood was completely different. His father, Thierry Courtois, was a semi-professional volleyball player. His mother, Gita Lambrechts, was also a semi-professional volleyball player and a physiotherapist. And his older sister, Valérie, she went on to become a professional volleyball player for the Belgian national team, the Yellow Tigers, and was even named the best libero at the 2013 European Championships. So yeah, volleyball wasn't just a hobby in the Courtois household, it was the family business. And here's where it gets interesting. From the time Thibaut could walk, he wasn't learning how to trap a football or take a corner kick. He was learning how to read the trajectory of a volleyball. He was learning how to time his jumps to meet the ball at its highest point. He was learning the sprawl, that flat, fast dive that volleyball players use to keep the ball in play. And most importantly, he was learning something that would change his entire career: how to use his hands. See, in volleyball, especially as a libero like his sister, your entire job is reaction-based defense. You're reading the opponent's body language, anticipating where the spike is going, and throwing yourself at the ball with zero hesitation. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what a world-class goalkeeper does. But here's the thing. Courtois didn't just dabble in volleyball, he competed in it. Until he was 12 years old, he was a dual-sport athlete, splitting his time between the volleyball court and the football pitch. And during those years, ages 7 to 12, which scientists call the golden age of motor learning, his brain was being programmed with skills that no other goalkeeper in the world had. He was learning to track a volleyball, which can float, dip, or spin aggressively, kind of like a knuckleball in football. He was learning verticality, constant jumping and landing mechanics that would later make him dominant on crosses. And he was learning the dig, that volleyball technique where you throw yourself to the floor to keep the ball alive, which is eerily similar to the low saves he makes today. So when people watch Courtois play now and wonder, how does he move so fast for a guy who's 6'7"? The answer is simple: volleyball. But there's one more twist to this story, because Courtois didn't even want to be a goalkeeper in the first place. When Courtois first started playing organised football at a local club called Bilzen Firefee, he wasn't standing in goal. He was playing left back. That's right. The guy who would go on to become the best goalkeeper in the world started his career as a defender. And honestly, he loved it. He wanted to be involved in the play. He wanted to score goals. He even said later in interviews that he was initially disappointed when people suggested he should try goalkeeping, because he saw it as a restriction on his influence in the game. At age 7, he was scouted by Racing Genk, one of Belgium's top academies. But even at Genk, his position wasn't set in stone. The coaches saw his height and his reflexes, those volleyball reflexes, and they started experimenting with him in goal. And then came the moment that changed everything. During a youth tournament in Germany, Genk's regular goalkeeper got injured. The coaches looked around, saw the tallest kid on the team, the left-back, Courtois, and said, "You're going in goal." He went out there, played out of his mind, and won goalkeeper of the tournament. And just like that, the conversion was permanent. But it wasn't smooth sailing from there, because between the ages of 13 and 15, Courtois went through a massive growth spurt. And when I say massive, I mean his bones were growing faster than his muscles could keep up. He became clumsy, awkward. Coaches at Genk started calling him uncoordinated. And here's the kicker. At that time, Courtois wasn't even considered the best goalkeeper at Genk. That honour belonged to a guy named Cohen Casillas. Casillas was polished, coordinated, and consistently selected for Belgium's youth national teams ahead of Courtois. There were even discussions within Genk about whether Courtois had a future at the elite level. They almost let him go. But you know what saved him? Those volleyball reflexes. Despite the clumsiness, despite the awkwardness, his ability to react to shots remained elite. And the goalkeeping coaches decided to stick with him. Good call. April 17th, 2009. Courtois is 16 years old, and Genk has a problem. Their first choice goalkeeper is suspended. Their second choice is injured. Their third choice, Casillas, is also injured. So they turn to the kid, the 16-year-old who's still figuring out how his own body works. And they throw him into a professional match against Gent. Most teenagers would crumble under that pressure. But Courtois, he walked onto that pitch like he'd been there his whole life. Nerveless, composed. And he played well enough that by the 2010-11 season, at just 18 years old, he was the undisputed number one. That season, he led Genk to the Belgian Pro League title. He conceded only 32 goals in 40 matches. He kept 14 clean sheets. And he was named Goalkeeper of the Year in Belgium and Genk's Player of the Year. At 19 years old, Chelsea noticed. And in July 2011, they signed him for €9 million. But with Peter Cech still in his prime, Chelsea immediately loaned Courtois to ATLÉTICO Madrid. And that's where the real education began. If you want to understand why Courtois is so good, you have to understand what Diego Simeone did to him at ATLÉTICO Madrid. Simeone's philosophy, Cholismo, is built on one thing: defensive solidity. His teams don't just defend, they suffocate. They make you earn every inch of the pitch. And for a young goalkeeper, that environment is the perfect incubator. Because here's the thing, at ATLÉTICO, Courtois didn't face a ton of shots. Simeone's defense was so good that some games, Courtois would go 80 minutes without touching the ball. But when he did have to make a save, it was decisive. It was the difference between winning and losing. And that taught him something crucial: concentration. The ability to stay switched on for 89 minutes of inactivity and then make a game-winning save in the 91st minute. Over 3 seasons at ATLÉTICO, Courtois won the UEFA Europa League, the UEFA Super Cup, the Copa del Rey, and, most impressively, La Liga in 2013-14, breaking the Barcelona-Real Madrid duopoly. He also won the Zamora Trophy twice, which is awarded to the goalkeeper with the lowest goals-to-game ratio in Spain. Twice. At 21 and 22 years old. And it was during this time that something hilarious happened. In January 2013, Courtois made a save that went viral. He extended his body horizontally, parallel to the ground, and tipped a ball wide with an air of nonchalance that captivated fans. A Colombian fan coined the term Thibauting on social media. And suddenly, people all over the world were recreating this pose, planking horizontally with their arms outstretched in the most random places. On tables, on fences, in gardens. It got so big that in November 2013, the prestigious Dutch dictionary Van Dale included Thibauting in its Word of the Year poll. It finished second in the sports category. That's how dominant Courtois was. He literally became a meme. But while his career was taking off, his personal life was about to explode. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Because in 2013, while Courtois was conquering Spain, a story broke that would haunt him for years. Kevin De Bruyne, his Belgian national team teammate, had a girlfriend named Caroline Linen. And according to reports, Linen had an affair with Courtois during a visit to Madrid. Now, here's where it gets messy. Linen gave an interview to Belgian magazines claiming that her actions were revenge. She alleged that De Bruyne had previously been unfaithful to her with her best friend. And in the interview, she said this: "Thibaut offered me what I had not received during a 3-year relationship with Kevin. With Thibaut, I could talk about anything and everything, and he had even prepared me a delicious meal. Kevin never did it for me." Yeah, that quote became tabloid gold. And suddenly, the Belgian national team, the so-called Golden Generation, was in crisis. De Bruyne and Courtois were key pillars of the squad preparing for the 2014 World Cup. And now they couldn't even look at each other. Mark Wilmots, the Belgian manager, called De Bruyne into his office, and he asked him point blank, "Do you want Courtois removed from the squad?" And here's what De Bruyne said, according to his autobiography: "Although I still cannot believe what Courtois has done, we continue to work together professionally. The coach asked me if he should leave the team. I do not think I had the right to say that he cannot play for the national team anymore because he did something wrong. Of course, he remains a good goalkeeper, so I said he could stay." That's professionalism. But make no mistake, the tension was real. For years, they were teammates on the pitch and strangers off it. And many pundits believe that this lack of cohesion is part of the reason Belgium's golden generation never won a major trophy. But time heals. And by February 2025, Courtois appeared on the Rio Ferdinand Presence podcast and spoke glowingly of De Bruyne, praising his talent and work ethic. That public praise signaled the end of the feud. But back in 2014, Courtois had bigger things to worry about, because the World Cup was coming. Fast forward to July 6, 2018. Kazan, Russia. Belgium versus Brazil in the World Cup quarter-final. Belgium's golden generation was facing their ultimate test, and Courtois was about to put on one of the greatest goalkeeping performances in World Cup history. Brazil dominated. They threw everything at Belgium. And Courtois? He was a wall. Early in the game, a Thiago Silva effort hit the post. Courtois later admitted they were lucky. But that moment sharpened his focus. Then came Douglas Costa. Courtois identified him as the most dangerous threat because of his diagonal shots. And he made several low, sharp saves to his right, using that volleyball dig technique to parry balls skimming the turf. But the defining moment came in the 91st minute, plus 4 minutes of stoppage time. Neymar, one of the best players on the planet, curled a shot from outside the box. It was destined for the top corner, the postage stamp, the place where goalkeepers go to die. But Courtois read the flight path, a skill honed from years of tracking volleyballs, and timed his jump perfectly. He didn't just tip it. He used his locked wrist technique, that volleyball block, to redirect the ball over the bar. Later, he said, "I was already in the right position. I could catch it while it was still up in the air." Belgium won 2-1. Courtois won the Golden Glove, and Belgium finished third, their best ever World Cup finish. But that was just the warm-up, because 4 years later, Courtois would do something even more insane. May 28th, 2022. Paris. Real Madrid versus Liverpool in the Champions League final. On paper, Liverpool should have destroyed Real Madrid. They dominated possession. They dominated shots. They dominated expected goals. By every metric, Liverpool was the better team. Except for one metric, Thibaut Courtois. That night, Courtois made 9 saves. 9. That's a record for a Champions League final since data collection began. Let me walk you through some of them. 16th minute. Mohamed Salah connects with a low cross. Courtois uses the negative step, a technique that generates instant lateral power, and dives to his left to parry it away. 21st minute. Sadio Mané fires a powerful low drive. Courtois dives full stretch and tips the ball onto the post. And here's the thing. Without that volleyball wrist strength, that ball powers through into the net. 64th minute. Salah curls a shot toward the far post. Courtois uses his 6'7" reach to fly across the goal and push it wide. Classic Thibauting. But the save that broke Liverpool's spirit came in the 82nd minute. Salah brings down a long ball, creating a one-on-one situation. Most goalkeepers would hesitate, but Courtois exploded off his line, extending his right arm like a volleyball blocker at the net. The ball deflected off his bicep and went wide. Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool's manager, admitted after the match, "Something is going wrong for the other team when the goalkeeper is man of the match." Real Madrid won 1-0. Courtois was named man of the match, and statistically, he prevented 4.7 expected goals throughout the tournament. That means he saved Real Madrid 5 goals more than an average goalkeeper would have. That's not just goalkeeping, that's psychology, that's mastery. In August 2023, disaster struck during what should have been a routine training session. Courtois felt his left knee give out, an ACL tear. For a goalkeeper who had never suffered a major injury in his entire career, this was devastating. The surgery was immediate, and the prognosis was clear. He'd miss most of the 2023-24 season. Real Madrid scrambled, bringing in Kepa Arrizabalaga on loan and relying heavily on backup Andre Lunin. But Courtois attacked his rehab with the same intensity he brought to the pitch, spending months rebuilding his knee from scratch. Physical therapy sessions that would break most athletes became his daily routine. Then, just as he was nearing a full return in March 2024, catastrophe struck again. His right knee, the one he'd been relying on during recovery, tore its internal meniscus. Another setback, another surgery. Most people would have crumbled. But Courtois refused to accept defeat. He doubled down on his recovery, working even harder than before. And remarkably, by May 2024, less than 9 months after the initial injury, and just 2 months after the second setback, Courtois returned to action for Real Madrid. He didn't just come back, he came back at the same elite level, proving that his dominance wasn't just physical, it was mental. The injuries that should have derailed his career only made him hungrier, showing the world that even at his lowest point, Thibaut Courtois was still unbreakable. After his remarkable recovery from back-to-back knee injuries, Courtois faced his ultimate test on November 4th, 2025 at Anfield, the fortress where Liverpool rarely lose. And on this night, he didn't just prove he was back, he proved he was the best goalkeeper in history. Real Madrid's defense was in shambles, conceding an expected goals (XG) of 2.58, meaning Liverpool should have scored at least 2 or 3 goals. But Courtois had other plans. In the 27th minute, after a horrific back pass from Dean Huijsen, Dominik Szoboszlai found himself one-on-one with Courtois, a situation where strikers score more than half the time. But Courtois didn't just make a save, he occupied space like a chess grandmaster, charging down the angle and throwing himself at the ball with his right leg outstretched, executing a perfect pro-spread block that left Szoboszlai stunned. Then came the 43rd minute. Szoboszlai unleashed a power strike from the edge of the box, aiming for the far corner. Courtois stretched to his absolute limit, using what commentators called an arm of iron to parry the ball away with a fingertip, save that defied physics. But the most iconic moment came in the 48th minute. Liverpool captain Virgil van Dijk rose completely unmarked during a corner, meeting the ball with a powerful downward header from close range. Courtois pulled off a stunning reaction, save that left Van Dijk smiling in disbelief. A moment that went viral instantly. Van Dijk himself later said the performance was outstanding, reminiscent of Courtois' heroics in the 2022 Champions League final. By the time Alexis Mac Allister finally broke through in the 61st minute with a perfectly placed header off a free kick, Courtois had already made 8 saves, matching his second highest total ever in the Champions League, only behind his legendary 9-save performance in the 2022 final. The statistical breakdown was staggering. Liverpool had 17 shots with 9 on target, but Courtois prevented plus 1.05 goals above expectation, meaning he saved at least one guaranteed goal that any average keeper would have conceded. Multiple outlets gave him a 9.0 rating, with Goal calling his performance absolutely ridiculous, and Football España declaring him best on the pitch. Even in a 1-0 defeat, Courtois had delivered a masterclass that cemented his legacy. This wasn't just a comeback, this was a statement. At 33 years old, after 2 devastating knee injuries that should have ended his career, Thibaut Courtois walked into one of the most hostile stadiums in world football and reminded everyone why he sits alone at the top of goalkeeping history. So here's the question: is Thibaut Courtois the greatest goalkeeper in history? Let's look at the numbers. Since advanced metrics like post-shot expected goals became mainstream, Courtois has consistently topped the charts. In the 2021-22 Champions League campaign alone, his save percentage was 80.6% with 59 saves. That's an anomaly. High-volume save counts usually mean you're leaking goals, but not with Courtois. And when you compare him to the legends, Manuel Neuer, Iker Casillas, Gianluigi Buffon, Courtois has something none of them have: the total package. Neuer revolutionized the position with his feet, but he's prone to risk-taking errors. Casillas had supernatural reflexes, but he struggled with aerial crosses because of his height. Buffon relied on positioning and consistency, but penalties were his weakness. Courtois? He combines the height to dominate aerial threats, the technical evolution to play with his feet, the longevity of Buffon, and the reflexes of Casillas. And on top of that, he has the volleyball technique that makes saves biomechanically impossible for other goalkeepers. Valencia legend Santi Cañizares said it best: Courtois is the Maradona, Messi, Cristiano of goalkeeping. He is so much better than the rest. So let's bring it full circle. Thibaut Courtois almost never played football. He grew up in a volleyball dynasty, learning skills that no other goalkeeper in the world had. He started as a left-back. He broke his leg twice. He went through a growth spurt that almost ended his career. He survived a public love triangle that could have destroyed his reputation. And he came back from all of it to redefine what it means to be elite. He didn't just become a great goalkeeper, he became the greatest goalkeeper. And the crazy part? None of it would have happened if he hadn't spent those first 12 years of his life diving across volleyball courts, learning how to read trajectories, how to time his jumps, and how to use his hands like weapons. So the next time you watch Courtois make an impossible save, remember this: that's not just football, that's volleyball. That's years of training in a completely different sport, translated into the most dominant goalkeeping we've ever seen. Thibaut Courtois didn't quit football, but he almost did. And thank God he didn't. Because without him, we'd never know what the perfect goalkeeper looks like. Drop your prediction in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.